If you were anything like me, you'll probably be wondering what's going on. I like to answer that hypothetical question with another question. What is Broadside Beach? Broadside Beach is an alternate reality game, or ARG, developer Squeaks de Corgay has been making for the better half of 3 years. Squeaks de Corgay is a game developer. You've probably seen his work being played once or twice by people in the FNAF community. Does Polar Dread ring a bell? It should. It's a good game. Play it if you haven't already. If you don't have a VR headset, watch a video on it, I guess. I don't know. Like most ARGs, Broadside Beach has found its home in the primordial ooze that is YouTube.com. They are a dime a dozen. People have been able to make careers off of the sheer abundance of them. They usually, if not always, follow the same beats, and it gets exhausting after a while. I like ARGs, I like analog horror, but please, try to name at least 5 different ARGs that aren't just the same thing under a different coat of paint. I do like a fair few of them, some do stand out from the crowd in their own way, and luckily Broadside Beach is one of these outliers. I don't think I'd even make a video on it if it wasn't. I'm not a slop channel. But why is it an outlier? What makes it so different? Why am I here talking to you? It's playable. Shipwrecked 64 is a game that I was excited for ever since I played the original demo. In fact, I was originally going to make a video on it months ago, back in April. Things changed and I completely forgot about it, and I'm glad I did. I don't think my video would have been good enough to do it justice. The original game was bare bones, to say the least, but it did exactly what it needed to do to sell the idea that this was an old N64 game. It was a fun game, scary at times, and overall left a good taste in my mouth. If the original demo was all Shipwrecked had to offer, I wouldn't be disappointed. But it's not. There's a whole new game, and this game is bigger and better than the original ever was. In the time from last April to now, I have come to be friends with Squeaks de Corgay. In an attempt to have enough time to plan my schedule around the release, I asked him if he could let me know like 4 days before the game's release so I could wrap everything up to focus on Shipwrecked and only Shipwrecked. In response, he gave me an early copy. What? Shipwrecked 64 starts with a commercial.
Hey, everyone! I need your help!
Step into the 3D realm with Bucky and his friends. Explore a vast open island, and hopefully bring your friends back to safety.
So what do you say, buddy? Let's go rescue the gang!
Hello! Welcome to Shipwrecked 64, 2023. Shipwrecked 64 was meant to release in 1997, but was pulled after 3 days, for reasons we now know. We've been working on trying to restore the game, and this is the closest possible thing to a finished copy. We were able to transfer most of the game to new software, but we had to fill some gaps ourselves. This version of the game is mostly clean. Bucky Beaver and his friends are trapped on an island controlled by wolves. As compensation, Bucky's friends, Walter Walrus, Olive Otter, and Giovanni Goose, are taken captive and forced to work for the wolves. Bucky asks us, the player, for help, as he gives us a short tutorial and lends us to our own devices. You are on the clock. Make every second count. From here, you were able to choose whichever character to help first. Personally, I chose to help Olive, mainly because she was the first one I saw. Olive was sent to gather coconuts for wolves, but isn't very good at it. In Olive's minigame, you have to collect 30 coconuts within a fairly lenient time limit by punching trees and opening chests. Not every chest or tree has a coconut for you, so you just have to punch and open everything in sight until you have enough. If you somehow manage to accidentally punch Olive, you'll lose time. So don't do that. If you can collect the coconuts in time, you will free Olive. If you complete it on your first try, the time should be around 6 p.m. You still have time to save another friend. But if you want to escape, shouldn't you have a boat? By heading to the town hall, you will meet the chief of the wolves, the one in control of the island. He feels sympathy for you, and only really took your friends captive because your arrival disrupted the peace of the island. As a sort of apology, he tells you where your boat is. It's in the forest. In pieces. He's giving you the opportunity to find the pieces and fix your boat, which you obviously accept. In Chief Wolf's minigame, you were given the ability to use night vision in order to track down the 6 pieces of your boat, within the span of a time limit, of course. But you're not alone. There's a creature in the forest. The time limit is, again, fairly lenient. It's not hard to complete if you can figure out what to do. Find your boat parts and you'll have your escape route. Time to find the rest of your friends. If you complete your second minigame on your first try, the time should be somewhere around 11 p.m. It's getting pretty late, and you don't, or shouldn't, be outside by midnight. We have just enough time to save one more friend for today. In the theater, Giovanni Goose is waiting for some help. Part of his debt is to cook for the wolves, considering he is in fact the chef. Unfortunately, he can't turn the dials on the ovens with his wings, so he wants you to do it for him. Giovanni's minigame involves you running around in a circle looking for ovens that are smoking with a red light in the window. If an oven is about to catch on fire, run up to it and interact with it, bringing it to a normal temperature, making the window in front glow green. Repeat this process until every oven has been set, and Giovanni will be freed. If you know what to do, Giovanni's minigame is very easy. It's not hard to complete. After your third minigame, it will be midnight. All of the characters are inside their homes, so your only way to proceed is to head down to the beach and enter the hole, the place where you will be sleeping for the next few days. Right now, it's time to sleep. In the area right before the theater, Walter is waiting. Walter's boat is stuck in a local dam, and without his boat, he won't be able to leave with you. So, it's your job to free it. Walter's minigame involves you clicking 3 different buttons to free his boat out of the dam. Each button unlocks a new area for you to find the next button, so on and so forth until there are no more buttons to press. You don't have a timer this time, but there is another mechanic. If the screen starts to flash, you have to stand still. The screen will shortly go black, and if you move at all while the screen is black, you will lose. So, click on the buttons, play red light, green light, and free Walter's boat. Once you free all your friends, you are given the choice to either leave the island now, or stay to find secrets. By heading back down to the beach, you'll see your friends waiting for you, along with Chief Wolf. He says it's been nice knowing you, and lets you leave. Bucky and his friends head onto their respective boats, and head back out into the Big Blue. Their fates left ambiguous. And that was the end of Shipwrecked 64. But what if you stayed on the island? If you head over to the town hall, the metal bars that were behind Chief Wolf are now gone. And what's behind them? A new character, Stumbler O'Hare. He used to live in town with everyone else, but was disarmed, leaving him in the state we find him in. Lately, though, he's fallen for a rabbit. But he can't find the courage to talk to her, and instead opts to draw a picture for her. But he needs some help, considering his condition. And Bucky, being a good Samaritan, helps him out. Stumbler's minigame involves you running around a cave system looking for ink jars. Stumbler needs the ink in order to paint, and if he runs out, you'll fail the minigame. Occasionally, Stumbler will knock his canvas over, and when this happens, you have to stop whatever you're doing and make a beeline for him and put it back upright. If you take too long, you'll fail the minigame. The only thing that can't make you fail the minigame here is the timer, as the timer is not how long you have to beat it, but how long you have until you beat it. If Stumbler doesn't run out of paint and his canvas is upright by the end of the timer, he will finish his painting, and you'll win the minigame. After you help Stumbler, he goes to hang up his painting in the theater, and asks you to come see. Heading to the theater, you find Stumbler in the entrance. If you talk to him, he thanks you again, and asks you to check up on his other paintings he left back in the town hall. So head back over to the town hall, and you'll see another new character. JD. He's a bit off, but seems to be nice. In fact, he tells you that there's a barge somewhere on the island, but it's tucked away in a cave, and the only way to it is through the volcano. This volcano will destroy the island in a few days. This is why Chief Wolf was angry at Bucky and his friends for disrupting the peace. Him and his pack are going to die soon, and he wants his people to be happy before their demise. JD decides to take you there, as they would never let him save everyone, but maybe you can. The volcano is the only real platform section in the game, with you having to jump across various items and rock pillars in order to get over to the other side with JD. You are timed, and although the time limit is very long, if you fall into the lava, you are sent back to the start. Failing later on in the challenge will cause you to lose the entire section, so be careful. Getting to the other side, JD brings you to a large cave tunnel, and on the other side, a large barge is waiting. Bucky brings it back to the beach right as the volcano was about to erupt and saves everyone. His friends, the wolves, himself, but not JD. He didn't come with us. Where did he go? I'm not certain. For 2023, this is basically all there is to do. There are some secrets, but we'll talk about those later. Around the map, you'll find collectibles that don't impact the gameplay, but do give you something to look at in the main hub. From here, there is only one way to go. Good luck.
Hey, everyone! I need your help!
Shipwrecked was pulled from shelves after 3 days. The game received many complaints after its launch. This was Cogware's second last game.
So what do you say, buddy? Let's go rescue the gang!
Hello! Welcome to Shipwrecked 64. Information on the game has been very sparse since its soft launch in 1997. The game would not work on any emulators, but after some tinkering, we built our own for this game. The game was developed by Cogware Games. 2 ex-devs helped us create this version of the game. This game may have some glitches or artifacts. It is not for the faint of heart. This is exactly how we found the game. Unaltered. Considering this is how they found the game, why not beat it again? This was the game that was on store shelves after all. Oh. I don't think I was supposed to do that. 1997 is when this game becomes Shipwrecked 64. This is when the game becomes one long string of puzzles that get more and more convoluted until it's so far stretched from what it was originally, you aren't sure if there's an end to it or if this is still the same game. If you were planning on playing Shipwrecked 64 at all, do not watch any more of this video. What will happen after this point is best experienced on your own. You will miss out on the best part of the game if you continue. You have 5 seconds. Still here? You sure? If you remember, you were supposed to keep the ovens from catching on fire in Giovanni's minigame. But what if... Obviously you fail, but nothing really changed. So why don't we fail again? Nothing. But there's something playing in the theater. And before you can soak it in... What we just witnessed was the death of Gary Wilson, a Broadside employee working as a mascot handler and the voice of Giovanni. Who was he killed by? Bucky Beaver, or rather, the person inside the Bucky Beaver suit, Brandon Lester, who was also the voice of Bucky Beaver. Now, this is going to sound nuts, but the Bucky suit is Brandon's skin. Brandon is what is known as a starling, a form of organic technology used to control the mascot suits around Broadside Beach. They are, more or less, walking corpses, a form of immortality, living in death. They have to wear the mascot suits as their skin in an attempt to stop outside infection. However, their skin suit ends up receiving unwanted side effects, such as bleeding, growing teeth, or additional non-organic objects attached to their body. Brandon, while working under Broadside Animation, passed away after a fentanyl overdose, leaving him to become a starling. Gary Wilson was Brandon's second victim. His head was smashed in, and his face was boiled in oil. He was turned into a starling. He was turned into Giovanni Goose. After viewing this, Giovanni's voice is now replaced with the screams of Gary Wilson. Now, going back into the minigame, and they immediately catch on fire. And we are shown something that is just as bad, if not worse, than the murder of Gary Wilson. Giovanni is gone, and the door that was once locked behind him is now open. Welcome to Layer 2. This section is why I wanted to make this video. The scene laid out in front of us is Bucky Beaver, the character, the idea of Bucky staring up at a statue erected in gold. A statue that is not of himself, but rather the killer using his skin. Brandon. The people love Brandon, while Bucky, the character, is left looking at the husk that is paraded. The music sells it for me. Waltz gives me a feeling of something that I was not meant to see, but exists parallel to myself. It would be here even if I didn't see it. It's something that should be seen as something wonderful, but instead we see it for what it is. A killer. After exploring the area, which seems to be a diner, we end up in an art gallery. The paintings spread across the walls are of abstract design or of various characters, most notably Chief Wolf and Stumbler. But across the various paintings, there are some numbers, specifically a red 8, a blue 3, and a green 9. To the right of the main area, there are 2 locked gates. In front of the first gate are 4 flags, 1 red, 2 blue, and 1 green. And next to the gate is a keypad that needs a 4-number code to open. Using the paintings, we can figure out that the code is 8339. After this code, there is another that needs to be solved. This one only has 1 flag in front of it, a red flag. Looking back to the painting of an 8, there were 4 more 8s surrounding the large one. So the code is 8888. Write down these numbers somewhere. If you want to beat the game, you are going to need this later. Red means 8, blue means 3, and green means 9. Leading on from the gallery, we enter a long hallway with a documentary of sorts playing in the background. This documentary is about Broadside Animation's creator and former CEO, Rex, who unfortunately passed away. The next room after is a place called Frontier Street Museum, detailing the past creations of Broadside Animation, including 2 title cards for animation starring Bucky Beaver, and a drawing of a character we haven't seen yet, Blot, Rex's first creation. Our purpose in this area is to find and press a red button, which opens a gate back in the diner. So, after pressing the button and heading back to the door, we proceed and find a new area. Bucky does not like this place and rather wants to leave. Looking behind us, there are 3 separate doors with Bucky's friends' faces on each one. We went through Giovanni's area, but there are still 2 others we haven't seen yet. Bucky wants us to stop what we are doing and respawn, which will bring us back to Layer 1 and let us continue the game as it's supposed to be played. But doing that won't solve anything. We'll head back now, but not because Bucky wants us to, but because we have 2 more layers to find. After getting to Layer 2 once, the music will be fully gone from Layer 1 in the minigames. Remember before when I said you could lose time by hitting Olive? If you want to fail this minigame, you have to hit Olive repeatedly until the timer reaches 0. The first time you do this, like before, nothing happens. The second time, we're dropped off in a new location with a tape player. The tape says, Olivia's last phone call.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
You showed up at the door again. I don't know what to do. There's something about us and there's just felt wrong.
This was the last time Olivia Finch was heard or seen alive. She was attacked by Brandon and drowned in the lake by her cabin. She was a voice actor for Broadside Animation, specifically the voice of Olive. Right when we assume it's over, it plays again.
You showed up at the door again. I don't know what to do.
And we learn that not even the borders of the game are safe. You are never safe. The third time we speak to Olive, she has something new to say to us.
Shards of glass were struck everywhere. A thick trail stretched from the broken window, and it led directly into the water. Oscar, Lima, India, Victor, India, Alpha.
Once we fail the minigame again, we are once again brought back to the cabin. But the roof is gone. If we jump out of the roof, we see another Bucky standing above the floating body of Olive. This is the closest thing we will get to seeing Olivia's death at the hands of Brandon. Brandon walks off, and the game fades to black. Olivia was Brandon's first victim. The locked door near Olive is now open. Welcome back to Layer 2. Olive's Layer 2 is the pool. It's exactly what you think it is, a massive pool room. In one of the first rooms in the pool, we find another statue of Brandon. On the wall is a sentence that reads, "Code is ECDC." There's also a tape in the room. When activated, Hot Cross Bun starts to play. Using the code on the wall, we can assume the answer is 3777, which, farther into the pool rooms, is the exact code used to open another locked gate. After some platforming, we enter a door and end up back inside the room we found through Giovanni's Lair 2. This room is the start of Layer 3, which, although we could enter, we still have one more layer to find. So, we respawn and head back to bed. The only way to fail Walter's minigame is to move while the lights are off. So, do that twice, as the second time you fail, there isn't a cutscene. After failing the minigame for the third time, we see footage of Bucky Beaver. Presumably from the perspective of the victim who now plays Walter, Nathan Stewart, an animator for Broadside, and the voice of Walter Walrus. Late in his shift, he was killed by Brandon wearing the Bucky costume. He was Brandon's third, and as we know, last victim. Brandon seemed to only target the voice actors for Broadside Animation, for reasons that I am not too sure of. The door near Walter is now unlocked, just like before. This is the last time we will be in Layer 2. This time, we find ourselves at a beach, and what would you know? The Brandon statue is in the distance. Every time we find ourselves at a location that requires us to learn more about one of Brandon's victims, a statue of him is one of the first things we see. It's a visual indicator that this person was killed by Brandon and turned into a mascot for Broadside Animation. When you arrive here, the best thing to do is to go to the right, as here, we find a video showing us what to do. You need to clip through a specific part of the wall, which leads us to a keypad. But how do you find the code? To the left through a doorway, there is a tape on the wall. The label says code is RXBC. This tape is using the NATO phonetic radio communication spelling alphabet. Whatever letter the word starts with is the letter trying to be communicated. This code is telling us that how many times a certain letter is said is what the number is in the code. Following this system, we get the code 6224. This gives us access to a long hallway with a button at the other end. When we press the button, these obelisks depict Stumbler, Chief Wolf, and JD respectively. There's a painting of this that is shown in Giovanni's Lair 2 and in the main menu. Using the boat, we can enter the Stumbler obelisk, and after some jumping, we enter a long spiraling staircase that brings us to another room. Some more jumping and we unlock a door that leads us back to Layer 3. As of now, there isn't anywhere else to go. So, we have to enter Layer 3. In this room, there are buttons on the wall and a computer in the top left corner. After pressing the buttons, the computer shows us on a beach with 4 numbers on the wall, 4923. Using this code in the next room lets us continue into Layer 3. But before we continue, the computer in this room is interactable, and when interacted with, opens a web page on your respective browser. This web page is the official Cogware Games site, and it reads as follows. Cogware Games was originally
an idea that 3 friends out in Silicon Valley had one night, founded by Connor Thomas, Elizabeth Baker, and Harry Waters. We are a collective of fans of the new and thriving world of gaming. We put innovation at the forefront. With our first ever demo of the game Blundercover being a hit with crowds over at local conventions in 1995, and a thriving partnership with Broadside Animation Company, leading to the creation of the magnificent Shipwrecked, we won't hold back on getting our hands dirty with game development. After all, that's what the name comes from. Every cog in a machine has to be working together to create a meaningful result. We here at Cogware are in it for the players, and for moving forward, we dabbled very heavily into three-dimensional graphics, working with the top-of-the-industry professionals to create worlds of depth, color, and life. Let's keep innovation at the forefront. We can make amazing things together.
Soon, you cross another hallway. 2 notes from the lead developer, Connor, tells us this area is off limits, and is for staff only. But if you really want to go down there, then feel free. Just be warned. Through the door, we find ourselves at a staircase covered in graffiti of various characters, a game of hangman, and markings telling us to stay out. But we press on, and find ourselves at Layer 3. At this point, Bucky is pleading with us to head back to the island. Whatever is down here, he doesn't want to see or interact with. But his words fall on deaf ears. There's also a tape here. The label is in a language we can't translate for the time being. But for the sake of documentation, this tape is labeled Olivia.
It hit her before she even knew it was coming. It started with loud screaming, reduced over time to mere croaks. Any will to swim away slowly drained away as she sunk down further into the water, polluting its natural color. The rodent stood a few feet away, watching the effects of his actions, and only began to walk away when she stopped struggling.
In front of us is a sign, and this too is in a language we can't translate. But nonetheless, it says where we lie. For Layer 3, we are given a candle in a fleeting attempt to see our surroundings. Hopefully this, the tape, and the location itself is enough of an indicator for you that things are about to get real. This location seems to be another island. There isn't anything here to do, so we have to proceed through the door in front of us. Which brings us here. There is graffiti on the walls that resemble the scribblings of a madman. I can't figure out what they mean, and there's only one way to go from here for the time being, as the main exit is locked. Through the next door, in front of us is another computer. When clicked on, it opens a web page. cogwaregames.com/stumbler/index.html. A Helpful Nub by
Stumbler and Wolf. About the authors. Stumbler O'Hare. Stumbler O'Hare is a rabbit and an artist at heart. Growing up, he'd always been a massive fan of arts of many different forms. In the process, he began to experiment with art of his very own. He took up painting as his favorite form of artwork. He had painted lots of artwork, some of which was actually hung up with the military theater. One day, though, Stumbler was hit with a life-changing event, which had left him without arms. A rabid wolf had attacked him, and while he did get away, he had to live the rest of his life without hands at all. However, he's still an amazing artist at heart. Stumbler will be responsible for the drawings in this guide. Chief Wolf. Chief Wolf has dedicated his entire life to helping out his fellow wolves who live on Nulla-Terra, much like himself. He lives in the outskirts and is typically found guarding the island, keeping it away from harm. He's responsible for the capture of Bucky, Walter, Olive, and Giovanni, and he wants nothing more than to help his fellow citizens. Wolf will be responsible for all the writing and research portrayed in this document. Layer 3? Layer 3 is where you are right now. As you may know, the island is split up into layers. For instance, Layer 1 is the island, outskirts, and any attached missions. Layer 2 consists of a pool, diner, and a waterway. And now, you're in Layer 3, the land of darkness. That's okay though. If you come properly prepared, you should be equipped to venture even further and keep yourself safe. To open the gate to move to the next zone, locate and charge the computers to 3 out of 3. Once it's open, find the gate control and turn it on. Your candle. The candle is the most important tool in Layer 3. You're completely in the dark, but that's okay, because your candle will light the way. Once you pick it up, you will have it for the rest of your time here. It will light the surrounding areas, keeping you aware of where you're going. Just know, however, once you leave these areas, you will no longer have the candle. You won't lose it. It will come back in your next visit. But if you don't need it, you won't have it. Cybertech Prime Computers. Computers are a very prevalent thing to come across in Layer 3. Cybertech has graciously provided us with these computers. We have stocked all around the place. It's a good way to share information with newcomers, like yourself. If you're reading this, either a friend has linked you to this, or you found it yourself through a Cybertech Prime computer. Press the big red button on the front when you find the computer, and you will be able to learn brand new things about Layer 3. Golden computers, however, will need to be activated with a timer. Once they're on, you will need to find each of them and turn them all on before the timer hits 0. I'll try to leave a map of where to locate these computers. The Island Dwellers. Dwellers, also known as Starlings, creatures who live in the darkness of Layer 3. Donning the faces of Bucky's own friends, they will wander around the dark, searching for any unfortunate little beaver who happens to stumble into their path. Awakened when Walter, Giovanni, or Oliver brought down into Layer 3, they will stalk around the dark, and eventually, well, they'll make their presence known. You cannot rely on your menu to keep you safe. Look for a barrel and interact with it to hide away. While a dweller may follow you in Layer 3, that doesn't mean they won't try to follow you elsewhere. Stay alert. You may not be as safe as you think. If a barrel or any other objects appear to be off or moving, repeatedly hit it until it vanishes. When captured by a dweller, you will be taken to a small room akin to that of a prison cell. Little do they know, however, that your little rabbit friend knows the code. If you are trapped, the keypad to exit will be 7418. Remember that. If you wind up there, you will need this to escape. Just kidding. Beaver Scratch is a language that's used by many folks who reside down here in Layer 3. To speak in Beaver Scratch, you'll want to, firstly, take your sentence. For instance, I miss having arms. And now, when you translate it, you'll get a very simple translation of that. Just like that. I hope you can figure it out from here. I'm an artist, not a teacher. If you need a sentence translated, feel free to send me a sentence at stumblerohair@gmail.com. There's a gate at the back half of the plaza. Look for it. You'll find it eventually. You've got to get it unlocked using these 2 simple tasks. Okay, you want to get the gate open? Here's what you gotta do. Firstly, find the crystals. There's a computer lying around somewhere, and on it is a video that contains your answer. If you visited the pool, you know what steps to do next. Step 2. Find my tape player. I did record the code for future use, but I forgot it. Look around. There's a tape player somewhere with the workstation code on it, recorded by yours truly. If you look at my little home away from home, seems like a reasonable place to leave it. And note, play these far away from Giovanni. He can hear these. Step 3. Start the task. Go to the sky hallway and look for the door with the music note next to it. And then, press the button to begin. The monitor will instruct you what to do next. Good luck, Bucky. Step 1. Find the batteries. Look for glowing green batteries. There'll be one in the office, one in the rooftops, and one in the cave. Step 2. Drop them off. Bring the batteries to the computer in the basement. Drop them off in the open box. Step 3. Toodles! You can go now. Be free. Good luck, Bucky. Truth be told, we don't know if there is a Layer 4, or just how deep all this goes. For the longest time, It was assumed it only goes down to layer 3. But recent searches have shown some kind of paradise down there. If you can find it, then by all means you'll have my gratitude. I'm proud of you, Bucky. Good luck with your adventures!
Well, now we know what to do. And now we know what that language from earlier is. There are 2 ways to solve Beaver Scratch. One way is to email Stumbler directly, who will give you the answer. But it takes time. The other way is to manually decode it using a handy-dandy guide I made. Beaver Scratch is made by taking the second letter of the alphabet, switching it with the first, and then skipping the next line, repeating until all numbers have been swapped. So ABCD becomes BADC. On screen is a visual guide for Beaver Scratch, so if you want to solve any notes by yourself, feel free to write this down and then use it for later. That's what I did. Solving Shipwrecked 64 is supposed to be a community effort, so if you want to stop here and finish layer 3, and by that logic, the rest of the game, then feel free to. But for us that want to stay, we have a gate to open. Laid out in front of us are 3 choices, like always. To the left is Olive, to the right is Giovanni, and in front of us is Walter. In order to access these 3 areas, you must enter at least 2 different characters layer 2, as if you only enter 1, the doors will be locked. In order to continue through layer 3, you must enter and complete 2 of the 3 choices. When I played originally, I completed Olive's and then Walter's room. I won't explain the puzzles found in these 3 different rooms, as each individual player will have a different experience, and this is best left solved on your own. The puzzles involve things you've already dealt with, so you should be able to get things done smoothly. After completing 2 of the areas, the door back in the previous area that was originally locked behind 2 gates is now open, which is obvious as you are teleported in front of it. There is only one way to go from here, and this is the real layer 3. This is where Stumbler's website is important, as this entire section is written under the layer 4 section as task 1 and task 2. Before we continue with task 1, however, we have to make a quick detour to the room on the left. In this room is a computer that, when interacted with, opens up a map of the area on your browser, and according to the video, this area is called the Plaza. Stumbler tells us to look for his home away from home, which, if you remember his minigame, means we are looking for a cave. While looking for this cave, you may encounter a starling. This is the first time in the game that we are not necessarily safe, as now we can be chased. In the plaza, there are 3 starlings you may encounter: Nathan, Gary, and Olivia. If you make eye contact with a starling, they will spot you and start chasing you. The music that plays in their chase is a slowed down audio clip from the civil defense training film Duck and Cover.
Dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and cover, ducked and cover, ducked and cover, ducked and cover.
If you are in a chase, you must find and then hide inside one of the barrels found across the map. After a moment, they'll lose aggro, and once they are far enough away, you can get out and continue what you were doing before. However, the starlings act differently from one another, so you can't use the same strategy every time. Nathan is slow, but has the ability to destroy any barrels you hide in. He doesn't do it all the time, but it can catch you off guard. If he breaks the barrel you are in, you'll be shot out with a few seconds of invincibility frames, so you have enough time to gain distance and find another barrel. When dealing with Nathan, planning and patience are your 2 best friends. Gary is exponentially faster than Nathan and can see and hear you from far away. If a tape is being played in his general area, Gary will run directly to the tape, so when playing one, you have to make sure you are inside a barrel so he doesn't see you. Gary is fairly easy to deal with, but he will catch you off guard if you aren't careful. If he spots you, immediately hide inside a barrel, and he'll leave soon after. Olivia is the hardest starling to deal with. Along with acting the same as both Gary and Nathan, she can occasionally cause a sort of wind noise to appear in either your left or right ear.
Was always an integer.
If you hear this, you need to run directly to a barrel and hide. If you are not in a barrel when she appears on the sides of your screen, she will immediately both aggro and teleport to your general location. When trying to solve a puzzle, it becomes a big issue, as you either have to prioritize the puzzle or hiding. If you prioritize the puzzle, you might get caught. When caught, you are sent to a jail cell at the beginning of the plaza. At this point, Bucky is both pissed at you and hates you. In order to exit the jail cell, you would have had to read Stumbler's website beforehand, as he gives you the code directly. Once you find Stumbler's home away from home, you'll see a tape laying on the floor.
Hello, future Stumbler. It's me, past Stumbler. I have the code. Going forward, if you ever need to turn on the workstations, the code is 1997. The year when all went wrong. Alright, that's all. Toodles! You look great today, by the way.
Now we have the workstation code, 1997. But we can't use it yet. According to Stumbler's website, there is a computer lying around somewhere that contains a video. This computer is found in the central building labeled on the Plaza map. This computer opens up a video labeled Crystals. The video is a set of crystals lighting up to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb. Heading to the right from the central building, we find a note that references the video. And more importantly, it says, the last 4 notes are kind of nostalgic to me. What is the only thing involving 4 colors that we have seen up to this point? Giovanni's Layer 2. Using the same method, we get the code 3839, which lets us open the gate right next to the note, leading to a copy of the diner. But before we proceed, there is one more locked area we have to open. The locked area in question is the gallery. Next to the entrance of the gallery is a tape. The label says, code is SOBT. The tape then plays an excerpt of someone talking.
Frank surmised that the length of a carrot divided by its diameter was always an integer. Frank believed that the sun was a giant carrot seen from one end. Attempting to explain his theories to rabbits was hopeless. Rabbits are too stupid, and rabbits make no sound when they speak.
When taking the words that start with the letters S, O, B, and T, and putting it in a sequence, you get 6229. In the gallery, like before, there are paintings of various abstract objects and 2 of numbers, a purple 6 and a yellow 4. Now back over to the diner, to the left are 2 computers, and to the right is another area locked behind a gate. On the wall is the sentence, "Did you miss me?" By looking at the colors of the words and looking back to the colors in the gallery, we get the code 4639. The only purpose in this area is to get access to 2 more computers. Now, why did we do all of this? Well, we went through part 1 and part 2, so what about part 3? Stumbler tells us to find the sky hallway, go through it, and enter the door marked by a music note. Next to this door is writing on the wall that says code is DECD. The only thing we have seen related to music in this area is the Crystal video. And would you look at that? There's a comment telling us to start at 11 seconds in. Using the same process we went through in Olive's Layer 2, we get the code 5525. When we enter the next room, there's a button in front of us. So why don't we press it? This is the first mission in Layer 3. In order to complete it, you must go around the map, turning 20 computers on by putting in the code 1997 on the keypads near them. They are located all throughout the map, which is why we had to open that area earlier. If we didn't, it would not be possible to complete this challenge. If you fail, you won't get jump scared or anything, you'll just have to restart the process over again. Learn the map beforehand, figure out a route, and you should be able to do it. You have 10 minutes. Good luck. If you succeed at turning them all on, you'll be sent to a safe room. And Bucky starts talking to you. Whenever you feel ready, proceed through the door. The music has changed. You got through the hardest part of this area. Now it's time for mission 2. In order to open the exit, you need to find 3 batteries and bring them down to the large computer in the basement. The batteries are found in the office, the rooftops, and in the cave. When you are holding a battery, you can't run or jump, which leaves you completely vulnerable to the starlings. So make sure you know where to go. Find the 3 batteries, put them in the area next to the computer, and it will turn on. And zip 3 folders: Olivia, Gary, and Nathan. You are once again teleported to the safe room, and once you are ready, leave the room and head back down into the basement. The computer can now be interacted with, and when pressed, sends you to a web page. cogweirdgames.com/bulletin/discovery.html. The site gives you a zip file, the same zip file the game just made. We won't be going through this file for the time being. If I can be fully honest, Layer 3 is my least favorite part of the game. At first, I loved it. The beginning section where you think there's something after you while you open the gate, but in reality you are by yourself, is scary. But it's scary in a sense where the threat is your own imagination. When you first enter the plaza, it's fun. For the first hour or so, until you are stuck inside the plaza for 3 hours because you can't find the objective, nor can you remember anything you did 3 hours ago! It was my own fault. I wasn't keeping track of my notes. They were a pile of sticky notes spread across a corner of my desk. Once I figured out what to do, I felt stupid, because the answer was obvious. At that point, the horror factor was gone. I was used to constantly getting jump scared because a fucking goose saw me from halfway across the map. Replaying it, I do enjoy it, but that's because I know exactly how to solve every individual puzzle in Layer 3. So the fun I was having was solely the gameplay. If I could go back and try to solve the puzzles again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Once again, Shipwrecked 64 is supposed to be a community-driven game, so hopefully, those that didn't watch this video can figure it out for themselves. But for now, let's leave Layer 3. That doesn't seem right. How do we go from this dark, ominous place to a blue sky and white walls? It feels off. The room we are currently in is filled with various blocks and objects, and a wolf walking around. A path tracking test. The starlings don't seem to be after us here. We're safe for the first time in a while. There isn't anything for us to do here, so let's proceed. More testing. Next room, more testing, next room, more testing, next room, more testing, next room, nothing. But there is a note. Welcome to the hub. In the next room over, there is a locked gate to our left and an elevator to our right. I guess we're going down.
Hi, I just want to take a really quick break to thank my sponsor, myself. I wanted to try to do, like longer videos, but it makes it so that I end up losing a lot of money trying to make the video. And I want to keep making content, so if you want to at all, I have a Ko-Fi in the description of this video. You don't have to, obviously, but if you want to, send like $3 or whatever, I would appreciate it. It makes making videos like this more viable in the long run, because I don't want to be stuck making Five Nights at Freddy's fan game reviews for the rest of my life. So,
In this area, the aquarium, there's no real way for us to progress. There's a hallway which leads to nothing of importance yet, and there's a door locked behind a keypad to our left. I guess we have to head back into the elevator. It lets us go down one more time, so you do just that. Layer 4 is the last section of the game and is by far the most complicated. Actually, the entire area we just went through was also layer 4, but I wanted the reveal to be more exciting. If you were to look through the YouTube channel that featured the Plaza map video, you would have seen another video titled Sewer Map. This area is that sewer. The goal in the sewer is to open the control room. What's inside the control room? Well, we have to open it first to see what's inside. Also, you may notice something. The Starlings are back, and they brought a new friend. Brandon. Brandon works slightly differently than the other three. Instead of chasing us immediately when he spots us, he watches from a distance, only chasing when you get close. He's faster than you, and much like Walter, he can break barrels you hide in, so even when you think you're safe, you're not. Also, when during a chase, he has the ability to cause pop-ups to appear on your browser. 3 different ones can show up, although I only have one of them bookmarked. Brandon is one of, if not the hardest Starling to deal with. He's unpredictable. If you can avoid him at all costs. When exploring the sewers, you may notice that there's no real way to progress. And while trying to figure out what to do, you'll probably die. Welcome back to jail. Well, no problem, you have the jail code. That doesn't work. Well, there's a computer in here, maybe that will help? When I played the game originally, I had no idea what this meant. It made no sense. You want to know why? For some reason, my brain could not fathom that the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the video was referencing the original jail code. I tried finding different variations of 1, 2, 3, 4 over and over again to see if it would work, but I did not think to use the original code. In order to open this jail, you must rearrange 7418 into 8714, or, as the video puts it, 4132. Using this code will open the entrance to the jail, but it also opens an entrance above us. If you manage to wall jump to the top, you will notice 4 different colored barrels. In order, the barrels go green, blue, green, purple. You've dealt with a puzzle like this before, back in Giovanni's Layer 2. Using the same method, the code is 9396. Next to the barrels is a doorway with a boat, much like your own, waiting for you. So, like always, there's only one way to go. While we're here, take some time to reflect on the choices that led you here. Is this really what you want to do? Do you really want to see what's on the other side? If you don't like what you find, who are you going to blame? You can't blame anyone. This is your own choice. You were warned multiple times. Would you look at that? We made it. In this room, there's another large computer that needs to be charged, and a keypad on the wall. Using the code from before on the keypad will cause a video to open on your browser. This video shows you the location of 3 invisible buttons. So, using the sewer map and the time shown on the video, go press them. Once you press all 3 buttons, another video opens up, showing a gate opening. This gate is the entrance to the control room. Head over there and you'll find another computer. This computer sends us to another site, cogwaregames.com/codebreaker.html. Codebreaker is another application. Some may consider it a game inside a game. Codebreaker opens up back at the main menu. Nothing seems out of the ordinary until you press start. You are on a floating platform in the middle of an abyss, suspended by one long pole. You can't save, can't do anything, besides enter a door with no other side. Through this door, a cutscene plays. Welcome to Codebreaker. From here on out, most of the codes will involve this program. Codebreaker codes involve a series of 4 buttons and 2 keypads. Let's use the code on the website we got this game from as an example. OOXO 1989 1214. X's mean the button has to be pressed, O's mean the button has to remain red. So, in order to use this code, you have to press the 3rd button, input 1989 into the first keypad, and 1214 into the second. The gate in the center of the room will then open, and through the door will be your reward. Depending on what you put into Codebreaker, you will get a different cutscene. Either something for flavor, or something to help you solve a puzzle. Like for example, the other code in this area, XOXO 8283 2781. This was the reason we went into the sewers. Once you have Codebreaker, you have completed one half of Layer 4. So once you have the chance, head up through the elevator and back into the aquarium. To the right of the elevator, back in that hallway we didn't need to go to yet, there's another set of codes on the wall. XXOO 4123 9981. This cutscene tells us to count how many doorways, computers, tables, and lights there are. Specifically in the room labeled by the number 1, which gives us the code 2634. Through room 1 is another hallway, and on the first left is a room with 4 lights, 2 green and 2 red. So now we have our set of buttons. But while figuring this out, you may encounter a new character.
Pappo, you gotta...
Oh, fuck. What the fuck is that?
No!
No, bro!
Dude, I told you to come back, bro.
Hide behind the table! Hide behind the table!
Oh, shit.
What the fuck?
This is Blot, or Rex to be more specific. Broadside Animation's attempt to bring their founder back from the dead. He first appears as a barrel slowly forming into a rabbit. If you see him in this form, you have the opportunity to hit him, and if you hit him enough, he will disappear. But if you let him spawn, he'll act like every other starling, except he's worse. For one, he acts like Olivia, showing up on the sides of your screen, and if you weren't hiding, immediately aggroing to you. And he's faster than the other starlings, and by faster, I mean he runs like a fucking marathon sprinter. The last room in this area is a room with the number 2 on the wall. Trying to count the doorways, computers, etc. in the room won't work as there are too many tables. But there is a note on the wall, a note from Cogware. This note has the date 1995 written in its text. So now we have the full code, XXOO 2634 1995. And here we get to listen to the full documentary from all the way back in Giovanni's Lair 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, behind this gate lies what could be the start to a bright, new tomorrow. I could never bring myself to cut the ribbon on my own. For that, I'll need help from a very special guest. Everyone, put your hands together and make some noise for the one, the only.
A man named Rex was brought into the world. Born into a family that was relatively poor, he always strived to create. It was always his dream to become an artist. But up until the 1940s, his cartoons, both animated pictures and comics, had gone entirely under the radar. It was around then, though, that his first picture, Blot, took off. It was about a rabbit that Rex drew, which then proceeded to leap off the page. Utilizing real photographs of Rex's room, and with Rex himself being a character in the short, a foil to the laughing protagonist, this show ended up selling out immediately, as folks were interested in the stunning mix of real life and animation. Rex would produce more films of the same nature, until eventually he was approached by a company who offered him the deal of a lifetime. Little did he know, this deal led to him selling off his character, as he was so quick to sign on, he didn't read very heavily into what he was signing into. To remedy this, he began to work on a replacement, and that is when Bucky Beaver and his friends were born. The popularity of Bucky not only went on to...
The date in this video, 1917, is the code used to unlock that locked door to the left of the elevator. We can finally leave the aquarium, only to end up in more of the aquarium. Through the hallway to the left is another interactable computer that opens a video on our browser. The video, titled Fish, is apparently an upload of something published on March 12, 1960. So what if we look up Fish March 12, 1960 on Google? We get the Dr. Seuss book, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. We know what red and blue means, so this title to us means the code 1283. This gets the award for the most batshit insane puzzle I've ever seen. It makes no sense, but it's something that makes you feel smart for figuring it out. Back to the start of this area, to the right is another locked door. Using the code we just got works, but it doesn't open the door. If we head back to the fish video, there's another video in the description, simply titled Location. This video reveals to us another hidden button. Pressing this button opens the door, and through the next area we end up in a hallway. A hallway which seems to be made of flesh. These starlings were made through the use of a biomass found in the undergrounds of the Nola Terra, the island that was used and turned into the resort spot Broadside Beach. This section is a visual interpretation of that living biomass. And because of this, Bucky knows this place, and tells you to keep going. We are safe here. Whenever you're ready, head through the door at the other end of the room. Through the door, we end up back in the hub. But the gates in front of the elevator that were once blocked off are now open. Before we continue, let's look back at that zip file we received back in Layer 3. This zip folder, simply titled Files, is a folder containing 3 separate subfolders centered around Brandon's victims. There's a folder for Gary, a folder for Nathan, and a folder for Olivia. Each folder contains a photo of their face post-mortem, files relating to their character, and files relating to the person and death. The one thing I want you to take note of rests in Nathan's folder, as in this folder is the footage of Nathan's death, the footage we should have seen back during Walter's minigame. We now know what happened to all 3 victims. We know why the game acts like it does, but we don't know why it was included in the first place. But you might have a way to find out. Through the gate.
Congratulations on reaching the end of our demo. We're happy to see you're engaging with our work. But we're showing this to you for one reason. As a reward for seeing all of Cogware's capabilities, everyone, I'd like to introduce you all to an exciting game set to release in 1997. I now present...
you. I thought I was the only one rotting down here. So much has happened. So much. It's all beyond your understanding. They call out to me. All four of them. I hear their voices skittering around in the inside of my wooden shell, even down to the pulsating mass laying beneath it. I need you to find me. It won't be easy to catch. You'll need to prove to me that you want what I have. If you do as I ask, you'll know everything. Every single detail of what happened. Why you are who you are. What do you say, friend? Let's give it a go.
Welcome to the final boss of Shipwrecked 64. In order to see what the game has kept buried, hidden from the public eye, we have to find the husk 10 times hidden across the island. All the while, the starlings are searching for us. If you get caught, you'll lose one husk encounter on your tally. It's not a death sentence, but try not to get killed. The volcano is raging, and we have but our own sheer will. This is one of my favorite sequences in the game. The entire time we have been hiding from the starlings with no end in sight, having to play one long game of cat and mouse. But now we have an objective in front of us. We know what to do. And hopefully, we can win. Once and for all. After finding the husk 10 times, we are sent somewhere else.
Ask, and you shall receive. Let's take a look at the little mess you've made.
Our reward for all of this. Our reward for being put through the ringer time and time again until we can't bear it anymore and do it out of spite and malice. This is what we did it all for.
Connor, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been playing this for about 2 hours now, and I'm not seeing the widespread appeal you've been promising us. It's, well, to be honest with you, it's clunky. I don't know what I'm doing. The characters who you promised would have depth and life, they are just flat. I thought that's the entire point of a 3D game.
What?
You oversold it, Connor. That's what I'm trying to say. The company is meant to be forging new frontiers, and, to be frank, after what happened at Studio Grounds, I really don't think this is going to be anything. It's not going to be anything in the same tier as our movies, our park, anything. And I really hate to say this, because I know for a fact you and your team put a lot of work into this game, but I just don't know if it's worth continuing to sink money into.
Sink money into? Mark, this is our job. You've had us working on this for 2 years, and now suddenly it's an issue?
Yes, it's been 2 years. And in those 2 years, you've only sat me down now and showed me the actual fucking game.
So, what can we do to fix it?
No, Liz. This isn't a fix the game issue. It's a fix your perspective issue, Mark. You are sitting in front of some of the greatest technology of the decade, and you're gonna brush it off?
Connor, I'm not brushing anything off. I'm just trying to understand where this...
I'm sorry to say, Mark, but it's true. It's not that we've made a bad game. We've all exceeded the industry standard. What we're having a hard time passing is your thick skull and...
Connor! Stop. Look, I'm so sorry about him. He's just under a lot of...
Is it Harley? Is it not worth it anymore because you're trying to treat her instead?
What?
Yeah, I said it.
What are you bringing her into this for?
Because I bet that's what you're gonna do. You can't keep funding our 2 years worth of work. Gotta buy her a fancy casket.
Unbelievable.
Mark, look, I'm really sorry.
Now, Liz, you're fine, okay? But I want you to know that we are done, professionally. All right? I don't want to work with any of you guys again. Quite frankly, I don't want to see you guys touch our property. Any of that. Am I clear?
Yes, Mark.
You can go now.
No. No. Because first of all, I want our equipment back.
You can go now! You can go! Leave!
Take a step closer. Lay a fucking hand on me. You lay one hand on me, I'm gonna make sure you stay in jail for a real long fucking time. Huh? Who are they gonna believe? You? You are nothing. I will be taking my leave now. Good luck in your future endeavors. I expect the office to be cleared by next week. Do not contact me again.
Hello everyone. As you may have heard, our lead dev here at Cogware, Connor Thomas, has taken his own life. This was a major shock to all of us, but also his friends, and most importantly, family. Typing out something like this is really, really difficult. We all have been grieving, and we encourage all of you to be respectful if you talk to anyone who was close to Connor. Connor was a man who was generous, creative, and always striving to make a difference in the world. He had a strong belief in the technology of the future, and he pushed to make a difference. I think it's safe to say he did. He changed all of our lives, in such great ways. We're never going to forget you, Connor. That being said, I understand our silence regarding the topic of the game that was released, Shipwrecked, and how some have taken offense to this. We are devastated at the way all of our work has been presented, and how it was tainted by such foul, disgusting imagery. That being said, the protests outside of our offices have reached a point where the police have been called several times, and somehow, more people are coming to us, blaming us for the horrible things people have been seeing as of late through the game that we released. It was Connor. Plain and simple. None of us were aware that the game even launched. Matter of fact, just before Connor quit coming to the office, he said outright that the game was cancelled and that he wouldn't be working on it anymore. We need to address this Tumblr controversy as well, because, while I am the game's character designer, I was not aware of the fact that this character was based on a real cancer patient, let alone the deceased wife of our business partner. I am baffled that this was a thought that crossed Connor's mind at any point in time, and I am simply sickened by the insensitivity of this. On my end, I simply followed the instructions that I was given by Connor. He gave me a basic list of requirements, as he did for Wealth as well. I was not aware of this character's intentions of being in the game. I just assumed they were another friendly character you'd run into in this game that I assumed would have been released without atrocities being presented to children. I can understand that me blaming Connor for a lot of the pitfalls we ran into could be considered disrespectful, and it is, but I am not going to let one man's actions damage our company. This is our game, our job, our lives. We apologize for the game that was on store shelves. We hope you have it in your hearts to forgive Connor, wherever he is now, and that you will still show support with our next games. This has been Liz. Signing off.
They haven't been acting right. No one around has been acting right lately. I took her to the hospital, and I walked out on my own. And they said that she's gonna be there for a while.
Heya, Liz here. Wanted to just throw my hat into the ring. Connor said he would be recording his work on the game, and I wanted to try it myself. It'd be a nice way to keep logs of development as little relics to take a look at once the game's fully done and shipped. So, today it's December 1995. Yeah. And I've been working on designing some of the bonus characters one may run into in the game. Been doing this little rabbit guy. Connor thought of a funny gimmick today, and told me that it shouldn't have arms?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna sound like a madman recording one of these things, you know. I just kind of need to feel like I'm talking to someone, even if I'm not. So, yeah. Shit. Where to start? This week hasn't been the greatest. Well, let's say that lightly. No, this week has been horrible. Everything feels like it's just going off the deep end, and I'm just starting to wonder how much I got left. Harley's still in the hospital.
Doubler, I think Liz called him. Yeah, he's funny. I think the funniest part is his missing arms. I managed to sneak in a jab towards Mark's wife and having her arm amputated. She was fresh on my mind when I was suggesting the idea to Liz. And hey, her making her a little guy a hopeless romantic as well. It lines up pretty damn well with how Mark...
I just looked at the numbers. Fuck! Our entire brand's been going down the drain. The stocks, I've never seen stocks get this fucking low. And we're still bringing people on. We're still expanding. At this point, what the fuck's a layoff gonna do? It'll sink us further into the shit! Okay, you know that the best option. I think the best option we've got. I've been it's been going in my head for like the past 5 fucking hours now. The best option we got is to cut the game studio we've hired. Okay, you know, we've been basically dumping money into their pockets, and I don't know what exactly they're making. I haven't heard from them in months. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna schedule a meeting with them. Okay, and if they don't have exactly what they promised. We cut them off. It would save our asses in the long run. It'd probably give us a fighting chance. It's... God, fuck. You know what? I just realized I'm throwing the exact same amount of money I'm paying for Harley's medical bills into this fucking game studio! You know what? I'll figure it out.
I am not going to sit here and act like I know the story behind Shipwrecked, because I don't. I can theorize, I can guess, but I won't know what the truth is unless it's thrown at me like shit from a monkey. But I do have something to tell. What we have been playing up to this point was created after the argument we just listened to. None of Layer 2, Layer 3, or Layer 4 was even considered until after the argument. The argument was the boiling point. For documentation's sake, Connor is Chief Wolf, and Stumbler is Mark's deceased wife. Mark is the current CEO of Broadside Animation, and is the reason the Starlings came to fruition. And, by extension, the reason 3 people had their lives taken away from them. Mark's wife was heavily sick, the cancer patient talked about earlier. Some of the money Mark was putting in the cogware was pulled and used to pay for his wife's medical bills. She was on the precipice of death, and yet he kept using funds to keep her alive for as long as she could stay kicking. Mark, fueled by the grief at his wife's condition, decides to pull all of his funding out of cogware to use for his wife's bills. It was budget cuts.
You just need to cut costs. You're only $1 million company. I mean, money's been tight.
And that's during the argument. After the argument, Shipwrecked stopped being a game. It became a dossier on the tragedies going on in Broadside Animation's parks. It became a way for Connor to show what was hidden under the surface, hidden from the public's eyes. And that's where Stumbler came in. Mark's wife was technically responsible for causing Mark to pull the funds from Cogware, and out of Connor's sheer spite, Stumbler was born. Stumbler is meant to be a large jab towards Mark. Why do you think Stumbler shows up so much? In almost every chance the game gets, they put 2 different groups of characters together. Bucky and Olive, and Stumbler and Chief Wolf. Connor is constantly put in the same place as Mark's wife. The main menu, the game selection, the gallery, Stumbler's own website. But, surprisingly, Chief Wolf is missing from the thank you Mark image in the true ending. Because, eventually, Shipwrecked devolved from a dossier on Broadside to Connor's virtual suicide note. Chief Wolf and Stumbler being put together means that if Mark was to play the game, he would have to face Connor multiple times, only to see his dead wife after. He would have to face his dead wife over and over again until he faced the mess he made. The game was released without any knowledge from anyone else developing Shipwrecked. Connor released the game, and then killed himself. The thank you Mark image isn't actually thanking him. It's sarcastic. It's trying to say thanks to Mark for causing the horrors at Broadside, causing the game to be cancelled, and causing the death of Connor. Contrary to the statement said earlier, it wasn't Connor. It was Mark. Shipwrecked 64 was my favorite game of 2023. I mean, it was released in 2024, but I played it earlier, so just, yeah, it's my favorite game of 2023, whatever. Although I had a wonderful time, I can't exactly pinpoint why it's good. Actually, I can. Shipwrecked 64 has, in some shape or form, revived a dormant genre of game that has been abandoned for decades. It feels like a dream, like something you'd see in a game when you were young, but when you went to tell people at the playground about it, they wouldn't believe you. They would tell you your eyes are playing tricks on you, or you were lying, or yada yada yada, despite the fact that you saw it with your own eyes. It was your own personal nightmare, your own personal Layer 3. Even though I needed help from the developer for like half the game, I still liked it. I loved it. Shipwrecked 64 is able to somehow take ciphers and websites and a game inside a game that gets more heightened if you play the original demo beforehand, and make something beautiful. People will write it off based on first impressions, just based on the fact that people consider it a mascot horror. This game isn't a mascot horror. Mascot horror isn't a genre. This is an indie horror game that has puzzle elements. If anything, it's a playable ARG with horror elements. It's not a mascot horror. They will dogpile on it and presume it's cookie-cutter garbage just based on the connotation that mascot horror has. If you look past first impressions, past what you think will be in store for you, you will find a game that, in my opinion, is something that should be celebrated. Shipwrecked 64 is unique in a way that I cannot fully describe. It needs to be experienced. It throws you through loops, degrades you to a point of frustration, but never at the game itself, at your own inability to see what's right in front of you. It brings pieces to the table later on that completely recontextualize entire sections of the game you just played. Why else would Stumbler have borderline reality-breaking abilities? You don't think anything of it at first, because the game conditions you into thinking it's normal. Until it isn't, and the rug is pulled out from under you. Shipwrecked is something that, when I was a kid, I would have loved. It reminded me of staying up late at night, sitting in front of a barely functioning CRT, and running through Frantic Factory from Donkey Kong 64. It wasn't necessarily scary, but it was eerie. Much like a large part of Shipwrecked. When scary things aren't happening, or haven't happened yet, things still feel off. Bucky and his friends don't feel like they belong in this world, even when they're supposed to be. They are out of place, like something you remember existing when you were younger, and your brain is trying to reconstruct the scene you remember. And yeah, it's accurate to what you remember, but it's not the full picture, it's just what you know. You just don't realize it. I don't think I will ever play another game like Shipwrecked again. Wait, no, let me rephrase that. I don't think I will ever experience another game like Shipwrecked again. It's too unique, which isn't a bad thing. Some things are just best left in a category of their own.